Most people watching this video should hopefully be well aware of the recently announced heads of agreement for a joint venture deal on the KSK property with the Indonesian mining group Deut. If not, then the full release can be found in the news section of the Asiamet website dated 3rd of November. We will go over some of that detail shortly. Tony, lots of feedback from the market. Let's get straight into some questions from the investors and address some common themes. If I could perhaps put three towards you at once before going into the detail. First, the common theme is that investors want an indication from the Asiamet management team as to how confident you are in this deal becoming a binding agreement and translating into hard cash payments for the development of BKM. Second, the deal itself. What does this mean for Asiamet on the corporate level and the shareholders? And third, many investors are keen to get the sale purchase agreement done and dusted and have asked for further clarity on the associated 90-day exclusivity process and any outstanding due diligence. What's the split between further due diligence and the finalization of the SPA or sale purchase agreement? So quite a lot there, Tony, but first, if you could just address how confident you are in progressing this deal with Delta as a partner.
Yeah, so look, Sasha, we're very confident of getting the deal completed. I mean, Boomer or Deut, is a large mining services business in Indonesia. They're people we've known for a long time. They're people we've done business with in the past, or some of the people involved with the people we've done business with in the past. They, as it says in the announcement, they've strategically been looking to diversify their business into minerals, metals, both from a mining services perspective, but also from a direct investing perspective. So this is, they see this as the first step in establishing a platform to get much wider exposure to that sort of energy transition, decarbonisation thematic, which is going to be dominant over the next sort of 20 to 30 years or so. So look, very confident that the deal will get transacted. The counterparty has the financial capability. That is not something which we would consider to be an issue that we need to be concerned about. They've already undertaken a considerable amount of diligence, including a site visit. So that's quite well advanced. There's been nothing raised in that diligence to date that would suggest that there's any risk to the deal completing. In fact, they're pretty excited to have got this heads of agreement in place and to move this forward. So, look, I mean, I can only convey those messages, and for all the reasons I've just outlined, we're very confident of getting this deal done. In fact, both parties are keen to get it done, to get the final binding agreements in place ASAP and crack on with the work that needs to be done on the project.
Thanks, Tony. So second question on the deal itself, could you expand upon the benefits for Asiamet that's on the corporate entity and also for shareholders?
Yeah, sure, Sasha. So look, I mean, I think in pretty straightforward, simple terms, this deal with a large strategic investor in the mining services industry in Indonesia provides us with the capital we need, a large part of the capital we need now to get through to construction. So it enables the development of the project sort of unimpeded, together with a partner who brings a lot of capability in terms of enabling that project, both in terms of the mining physical side, but also the financial side in terms of helping us, assisting us putting together the project financing package, and then essentially finalising the permitting and getting through into the construction phase without coming back to the market. So I think that's a really important thing for shareholders to appreciate. The deal enables us to get through the development phase and into operations without us needing to come back to the market.
Many investors are keen to get the sale purchase agreement done and dusted, and have asked for further clarity on the associated 90-day exclusivity process and any outstanding diligence, and specifically been asked to go into a little bit more detail on what's left on the DD side from the other party, and how much time it will take to finalise or how much of this 90-day period will be used to finalise the SPA.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Sasha. So look, I mean, we've set ourselves 90 days, and it's the intention actually to get it done quicker than that if we possibly can. The counterparty, being a very experienced mining services business, they have a pretty good understanding of sort of what the technical sort of side entails. They've engaged some consultants to assist them with various components of that. They're already pretty well advanced in respect of that technical work, including having completed the site visit. So, that's a long way down the track. The second piece is really the binding documentation around the SPA, and the reason that we really have gone to a 3-month period is to give ourselves sufficient time to get that done. That sort of, I guess, negotiation and documentation and involvement of the lawyers for a binding agreement takes some time. But look, I'd say, given the work that's been done to date on both pieces of that, given the fact that the parties know each other, have had some history together over a period of time, I'm very confident that we'll get this done in 3 months, if not sooner than that. It's certainly the intention of the parties to get it done as quickly as we possibly can. So if we can do it quicker than 3 months, then that's what we intend to do. We've got a slide here. We've just put together a slide because it makes it easy to sort of demonstrate and talk through. So if we look here, the feasibility study estimate for capital was a bit over 230 million. This is all US dollars. So if we look at how is that going to be funded in terms of a construct, Deut come into the project as a strategic partner, essentially funds $50 million in total, of which $30 million is going towards the capital cost of the project. That leaves us circa around 200 million to solve for. We then have around, call it 60% gearing on the project, certainly in discussions that we've had with Deut, who have strong financial capabilities, both from a debt and equity perspective. They believe that 60% gearing is possible on the project. So that would be circa 140 million thereabouts, which would leave us, around about $60 million to finance in terms of equity. So Asiamet would retain a 49% interest, and therefore would need to solve for around 31 million, which is the bottom line. And we believe that just through a combination of offtake finance, equipment leasing, and the like, that we will be able to put together a significant piece of that 31 million through those, I guess, non-market related equity type deals. So, that I think is, a construct which should be very attractive for our shareholders, in that it essentially sees Asiamet pretty much fully funded through the development phase of the project without having to come back to the market to raise our share of equity. We're confident that this type of construct will see us through to production without needing to do that. So Deut is an Indonesian listed company on the IDX. It's a large mining services business, as I said earlier on. It's the second largest coal mining contracting company in the country. They are a very substantial mining contractor. They have got contracts with some of the largest companies operating in the country, very extensive contracts and very extensive experience across a whole range of mining associated development and construction and operations perspectives. So, the infrastructure side, putting in roads, ports, that type of infrastructure, building processing plants for coal operations. So that sort of construction, engineering, construction side, as well as sort of the mining contracting side. for, as I said, some of the largest companies operating in the mining space in Indonesia. So, it's a very substantive company, a very substantive business, which is essentially a mining services business. So, we think, they're an excellent partner. I think, people will be aware that I've worked together with some of the principals on other projects in the past, and those they've been very successful partnerships and very successful outcomes for the partners and shareholders in those businesses. One of which was the Matabi Gold Mine in North Sumatra, which we worked with some of the principals here to develop that, and ultimately built it into a very, very large business and sold that a couple of years ago. So in terms of the deal itself, the highlights of the transaction are sort of, I guess, both in the news release, but also, outlined here. Look, in simple terms, Deut will contribute $50 million towards the development of the project. That'll take the form of both cash and some what we would call in-kind works, but those works are very much works that are a critical part of the construction of the mine. So, firstly, $10 million comes into the Asiamet corporate. That money will be used specifically or predominantly for the BKM project, where we'll complete the value engineering and additional resource drilling. I will note that we raised circa $14 million in the first quarter of this year, and we have a substantial sort of amount of that still left. Obviously, we've been doing quite a lot of work around value engineering and drilling, but we've still got a strong treasury at this time. That additional $10 million will further strengthen that treasury and enable us to get all that initial work completed and into the front end engineering design work. So that's all the detailed design, the drawings, and all the specifications for construction, and then go out to tender those construction works. So that's that's the tranche 2 funding, which will be $10 million, an additional $10 million, and then we also there's $20 million which will then go to civil and the mine engineering construction work. So obviously, when you're building a project, there's a lot of roads to be constructed. There's a lot of earthworks around preparation of pads, preparation of waste dumps, preparation of facilities for capturing water, and so on and so forth. So all those civil works, including the clearing of the site, the grubbing of all the vegetation, and the commencement of mining and construction of heap leach pads. So, a lot of work to be done, and that $20 million will either be in cash or it'll be in services to be provided by BUMA as part of that contribution to the development. And then there's a further $10 million tranche 4, which long lead items are pieces of equipment that are needed, which have, as it says, long lead times. So, these could be 6 months, they could be 12-month type lead times. You have to put, substantial deposits down for those items to lock in your slot for delivery into the future. So, it's an important part of meeting the construction timeline, and it's normal for every project to need to order these long lead time capital items, and that's the tranche 4 will sort of go towards that. So once all of that's done, Deut will have earned a 51% interest at the project level, and then we effectively operate as a 51-49 partnership to finish the construction of the mine and the operations, at which point we will establish what's called an operating. The mine will operate under a management agreement, which will obviously be there'll be representatives of both the shareholders in that management agreement for the operation. So that's sort of, I guess, the construct of how that $50 million will be put to work, Sasha.
It mentions another 10 million to be invested into further value engineering works and the additional resource expansion drilling. So could you clarify if this is in addition to the ongoing work? Investors are also asking about the previously allocated budgets for this and to deliver that work, and how this sits with that work that's ongoing and that has been done. For example, the drilling program, the current drilling program, which is nearly completed, and whether you can elaborate much more about what you intend to do here and what investors will see delivered and when.
Yeah, okay. It's a good question. So what I guess what I'd like to just firstly say is that we've outlined here in the heads of agreement 4 tranches of capital which are essentially injected in the business, comprising a total of $50 million. We, as I said, have, we still have a strong treasury. We've done that resource expansion drilling, which have seen results today. That's continuing. And, we're getting, exceptionally good results from that program. And we would like to continue to do that work because we think it's very value accretive to to the project in terms of both the existing project, but also setting up the project for further mine life and potentially for further expansions as we move forward. So scoping out the footprint of the resources is pretty important. You want to make sure your centre of gravity for mine construction's in the right place. You don't want to be putting infrastructure on top of areas where you've potentially got resources that you want to mine in the future. That mistake gets made so many times with mining projects where process plants are built on top of, resources and things like that. So we want to continue that work to fully understand, the broad shape, size, dimensions of BKZ and the extensions to BKM. It's critically important, so we will continue to do that work. Look, the value engineering works we are bringing to completion. The delivery of the value engineering works is pretty straightforward now. We're down to essentially making a decision between going ahead with a heap leach or going ahead with a concentrate, flotation concentrate circuit, which would see us producing a metals-rich pyrite concentrate, transporting that down to a port facility at the river, and then shipping that out to end users in Indonesia. And we've got some discussions going on with the end users in terms of what their demands are, or their outlook for their demand and potential sort of offtake and pricing, etc. So all that work needs to be finished, and then we'll sort of look at those 2 things and make a decision as to, okay, what's the best path forward. And when I say that, there's a whole number of things that we need to take into consideration. And one of those major considerations is obviously capital. So, the capital that we've talked about earlier today was the capital that was required to build a heap leach SXEW project. If we're talking about building a concentrator and shipping out a concentrate, it has a different capital profile. I'm not saying that's necessarily going to be substantially higher or lower or anything else. I'm just saying they're things that we need to get through to a logical conclusion. We need to get hard numbers around the capital and operating costs for that option. We need to update our feasibility numbers for the BKM project because it's essentially those numbers are over 2 years old now. And then we'll make a decision, the board will make a decision, and together with Boomer, together with Deut, we'll make a decision as to which of those two options that we want to take forward. So I hope that answers the question, Sasha. But the second thing I just want to say around that is it's not hard and fast locked in that the 10 million has to be spent on those items. That first tranche 10 million, some of that can be pushed into the front-end engineering design works. So, in total, there's $50 million to be spent. We've got to construct around that in terms of these tranches. We'll flesh this out a bit more in the binding documentation, but it's not hard and fast that if it doesn't cost 10 million to finish those value engineering and resource expansion works, then some of that money will move into the front-end engineering design works, and that ultimately gives us sort of more capital available to go into, more funds available to go into those longer lead capital items and the engineering and mining construction work. So, as you know, and as has been, flagged with the market, we have had some delays around COVID-related restrictions, etc. So, look, our cash position is strong. We still have around $8.5 to $9 million in the treasury because of those delays in getting that resource expansion work underway, the drilling work underway, and completing some of the value engineering. So look, we're in a really strong position. Both the treasury is still strong, and as I've said, we have this first tranche 10 million to come in. And we're not locked into spending that money on these particular things. It's where does the $50 million best fit in terms of the things that we need to get the mine through the development phase and into operations. So we're in a strong position.
Okay, excellent. So will we see this further exploration and engineering work go on simultaneously to the finalisation of the SPA, or i.e., accelerating our own exploration and engineering programs and not being in a stasis, so to speak, whilst we're waiting for the SPA?
Oh, definitively, we're not waiting for the SPA. All this work is ongoing at the moment. The rigs are still turning. We've got we've got 2 rigs still turning up there. You've seen the results coming through, Sasha. They're really strong results.
Yep.
And we're continuing to see really positive stuff in the drilling that we've been doing. So, as I said, we need to understand the footprint of the deposit, which continues to grow. So, that work's ongoing, and we're really excited by what we're seeing there. The results have been really strong, and I think better than we would have anticipated, to be quite honest. So, really pumped about that, and there'll be more of that coming through fairly soon. And the value engineering work's a lot of work going on there. Andrew's got all that work happening out of Perth. And the capital operating cost estimates, the construct around the process flow sheet, etc., is all happening. So look, all of that, all of that's continuing unabated, through this period. As I said, we've got $8.5 to $9 million in the treasury, which we raised earlier in the year to do this work and get the project mine construction ready. So. That's exactly what we're doing. We've been doing it. Everything we said we were going to do, we've been doing it. We've had a few, hiccups with COVID-related, delays and have slowed things down. But full credit to the team. They've just pushed through all of that, and have a lot of work's been done and continues to be done. And at the same time, we'll be, James, myself. We'll be, driving hard to get the SPA concluded, as we said earlier, as quickly as possible. So on Bhutan, Sasha, what we've done is we've engaged, as I said, a community development consultant, Nahal, with expertise in Aceh and expertise in mining in Aceh, and they have put together, a comprehensive community engagement development plan, and that plan is currently being enacted in partnership between our own people and Nahal. So that work is, again, with COVID issues, there have been some delays to that program in terms of travel restrictions and the ability to get people to site and engaging with local communities, but it's all underway and advancing quite well at the moment. We always said that we would be looking to get back on the ground there to continue our works. We're really looking forward to doing that because it's a pretty exciting opportunity for us there. So, we said in the last quarter of this year, potentially first quarter of next year, and even though we've had the delays, we're certainly tracking to that timeline, and I would expect that we'll be back on the ground there drilling most likely in the first quarter next year at this point, given the delays we've had around COVID. So again, we raised that money early in the year. We had a group of things we said we're going to do, and we've been doing all of those things that we said we're going to do, and that applies to Bhutan as well.
Yeah.
So Sasha, as we've spoken about today, there's a lot of activity going on, both on completion of the value engineering works, but also the resource expansion drilling work. So we've already put some results out from that. There'll be more results to come, and with this transaction being the heads of agreement in place now and moving towards binding documentation, as I said, we'll continue with that work. It's important work in terms of understanding the broader implications of the project, both short-term and long-term. So strong news flow will continue from that work. Obviously, we're negotiating the agreement. There's obviously news around the completion of various milestones related to that, completion of diligence work, and then completion of documentation, and then the establishment of the partnership going forward, plus also the work that I said around Bhutan. So, quite a lot going on. There is a lot going on. Importantly, we're well funded to do all that work, and I would expect there will be pretty substantive news flow on a consistent basis, for the foreseeable future. So, we're in very, very good shape. The company's in a strong position, both from the treasury perspective, in terms of setup to, take this project now through the development phase, and then to continue growing the business, with a strong strategic partner. So, we've never been better placed, to be honest, in the life of the company.
Okay, very good. Thanks very much for your time, Tony.
No worries, Sasha. Appreciate the opportunity to answer some of the questions that shareholders and invested and interested investors have. So, pleasure to do that, and looking forward to this next phase. Onwards and upwards.